Kimberly Sturgeon from Charleston in South Carolina. You have a horse called Puck, and I understand that you had ongoing problems with him with anhydrosis, and that you changed your feeds, and looking at your photos, he's then started to sweat. So if you would mind sharing with us the story about Puck.
Yeah, well, Puck, I first started having issues with anhydrosis with Puck in 2007 in the summer, and she was nursing a foal at the time, so we were getting close to weaning, and it was late in the summer, a very hot summer, and she started having, it was the first time she started having issues with anhydrosis, and at that time we were feeding her a commercial grain, and I think it was an alfalfa and Timothy mix hay, which, and you know, now I realized was probably a bit much for her system at the time. But then she continued to have the anhydrosis issues for years after that, and you know, my vet had me put her on 1AC, which is a treatment for anhydrosis, and we had, you know, very moderate success with that. She started to sweat sort of a little bit, not normally. You know, she would sweat a little bit on her chest and maybe under the saddle, but not really at all a normal sweating, and she would overheat really easily, and pulse rate was very high. So in the summer times for several years there, we had to hose her down regularly and keep her in the shade in the summertime. It was, you know, very scary, actually. And it wasn't until I switched her over to the CoolStance in 2011. I first switched her over to that late in the summer, and within 2 weeks of putting her on the CoolStance, she started sweating in some areas where she hadn't sweated in years. And then we got into, it was late in the summer and fall when I started her on the CoolStance, so we really didn't get to see till the next summer what the effects were, but it was the first time in about 4 or 5 years that she had sweated normally, and we didn't have her on any kind of other treatment.
And have you got other horses that had the same problem?
No, I've never had any others that had anhydrosis. I have 3 horses, and they're all doing great on the CoolStance, but she was the only one who had ever had issues with anhydrosis.
Do you think in the CoolStance, what changed, do you think?
Well, you know, it's a good question. I'm not really sure. There were a lot of things about her that seemed sort of like her metabolic system was not in good shape prior. She was overweight as well and had trouble losing weight. She was not laminitic, but she started getting a crusty neck and some of the other signs of metabolic issues. I don't know if that's all related or not, but I think just having a very clean feed, getting her metabolism balanced out. There's a lot of other things in processed feed that I think are kind of toxins that get in the system, and once all of that got flushed out, she just seemed to, her body started responding normally again.
Well, it's certainly an amazing story. We've got people in Singapore now and in the Middle East who are very interested in what you have to say about this, and I found other people down in Texas, once I started exploring, they also reported exactly what you reported.